Imagine, you're standing in the center of Paris, looking up at the magnificent Eiffel Tower, and someone approaches you and whispers,
Do you want to buy this tower? The government is secretly dismantling it, and I can sell it to you for scrap metal.
You'd probably laugh it off, wouldn't you? But in 1925, a man in Paris didn't just tell a story. He sold one of the world's most famous symbols, the Eiffel Tower, for cash. And not once, but twice. Meet history's most brilliant, cold-blooded, and charming con artist, nicknamed the Count by the FBI, Victor Lustig. Today, I'm going to tell you the mind-blowing details of how one man sold an entire tower using nothing but the power of words, pulling off history's greatest scam. If you're ready, let's begin. Victor Lustig was born on January 4th, 1890, in the small town of Hostina, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, now the Czech Republic. There are conflicting accounts of his family, as Victor lied throughout his life. He once claimed that his father was the mayor of the town, but in his prison records he stated that his parents were very poor peasants. What is known is that Victor had a different and difficult childhood. His father was a very aggressive man, and once even beat Victor with a violin. But Victor was incredibly intelligent. He learned 5 to 6 languages: English, French, German, Italian, Czech, and Hungarian at a young age. His genius for fraud began to manifest itself in his teenage years. At the age of 19, he moved to Paris and became involved in gambling. He quickly made a name for himself in the city's underground casinos, using his sharp wit to manipulate high-stakes games. He received the famous cut on his left cheek during a fight over a woman, but later, in order to influence people, he faked that the wound was from a noble duel. Before the Eiffel scam, he was busy robbing wealthy passengers on transatlantic ships at card games. His most famous first scam was the Romanian box. He sold his victims a counterfeit machine that copied $100 bills. The machine printed one bill in exactly 6 hours. Victor would hide 2 to 3 real $100 bills inside the box in advance. While the victim waited for the money to come out, Victor would sell the box for $30,000 and disappear. By the time the buyer realized he had been scammed, it was already too late. While reading the newspaper in his hotel room, Victor Lustig came across a short article. The article stated that the Eiffel Tower was costing the government too much to maintain and repair, that the tower was rusting, and that the city authorities were debating whether it would be better to tear it down. Remember, at that time, the Eiffel Tower was not as popular as it is now. Many artists called it an ugly thing, and that it had already been built temporarily for the 1889 exposition. Victor didn't waste a single moment and immediately set his brilliant plan into motion. First, he crafted flawless fake IDs and official letterheads under the name of the Deputy Director General of the French Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. Everything looked so authentic that it was impossible to doubt. Using these stamped official letters, he reached out to the 6 largest scrap metal dealers in Paris, inviting them to a top-secret government tender. To completely shatter any remaining suspicion, he didn't gather them in a boring, ordinary government office. Instead, he brought them to the most luxurious spot in Paris, the Hôtel de Crillon. He knew perfectly well that the moment they walked through those grand doors, they would blindly believe they were part of an elite, classified state mission. At the meeting, Victor tells them, "Gentlemen, this is an official secret. Because we fear public outcry, the government has decided to secretly dismantle the Eiffel Tower and sell off its 7,000 tons of iron. The job will be awarded to the highest bidder." Among them was the perfect victim, André Poisson. Poisson was a somewhat naive and ambitious man, trying to make his mark in the Parisian business world. Victor immediately sensed his weakness. Poisson was eager to close the deal, but he had a nagging doubt. Why was the ministry official in such a hurry? Victor made an incredible move to save the situation. He met with Poisson alone, complained about the low salary of a civil servant, and hinted that he wanted a bribe. Yes, you heard right. Victor asks for a bribe on top of the fraudulent contract, and this completely calms Poisson, because in his eyes, an official who asks for a bribe is a real and corrupt French official. Poisson gives Victor $250,000 in cash, plus a large bribe for the sale of the tower. Imagine that. $250,000 in the money of the time. That's about $2 million in today's dollars. Victor packs the money into a suitcase, gives Poisson false property documents, and escapes to Vienna by train that same day. Victor opens the newspapers every day to see his name in the search. But days pass, and there is no news. For example, when the unfortunate businessman André Poisson sees that he has been deceived and that the Eiffel Tower is officially standing in its place, he experiences such shame and disgrace that he does not file a complaint with the police so as not to become a laughingstock in the city. He completely covers up the issue. Seeing that the police were not looking for him, Victor Lustig thought to himself, "If no one has gone to the police, why should I do it again?" Just a few months later, Victor returns to Paris. The same scenario again, the same luxury hotel, 6 different metal dealers. He sells the tower for a second time for 100,000 francs, but this time he is not so lucky. The second buyer becomes suspicious before the deal is even finalized and goes straight to the police. The plan is exposed, but Victor senses the police's arrival with a genius instinct and manages to take the money and flee to America. Returning to America, Victor does not stop there. He even managed to deceive the greatest mafia boss in history, Al Capone. He supposedly receives $50,000 from Al Capone for an investment project, keeps the money in a safe for 2 months, and then returns it to him with the words, "Sorry, the project did not work, but I brought it back so that you would not lose your money." Al Capone was impressed by his honesty and rewarded Victor with $5,000 for his honesty. Victor's goal was to earn these $5,000. However, like every con artist's story, Victor also came to an end. He began printing counterfeit money in the United States. In 1935, his lover, after learning that he was cheating on him with another woman, sold Victor to the police out of jealousy. Victor Lustig was caught in New York. He escaped from prison the day before his trial by making a rope out of bedsheets, but was recaptured a month later and sent to Alcatraz, America's most feared prison. It is said that on the wall of his cell in Alcatraz was a picture of the Eiffel Tower with the inscription, "Sold for 100,000 francs." Victor Lustig, the greatest chameleon con artist in history, who used 47 fake names and dozens of fake passports throughout his life, died of pneumonia in a prison hospital on March 11, 1947. Even in his death, he managed to hide his true identity. So much so that the official death certificate listed not his real name, but the most famous fake identity he used while hiding in the United States, Robert W. Miller. But that was not the greatest irony of the document. The certificate's occupation section listed only one word: salesman. He made history by selling a tower he never officially owned. Yes, that's all from me this week. What do you think, with such intelligence? Could he have become the richest man in the world if he had done something legal, not a scam? Be sure to write your thoughts in the comments. I hope you liked the video. If you did, remember that I did all this work on the channel, from research to editing, alone, and that these videos were made possible only thanks to your likes and comments. You can support me by subscribing to the channel. See you in the next stories.